what that illness did to you was just, I've never really experienced anything like it, you know.
Do you think also that, back in the day, you guys didn't have, unless you were a real boxing person, right? You probably didn't have as many eyes on you. Yeah. And especially in the competitions prior to the Olympic qualifiers, only really if you were, at the Worlds or whatever, was it on telly. So do you think now with social media as well, that added pressure that everybody's got eyes on you, do you think that plays a role in it?
Yeah, it can do. But like if you look from when we went through, there wasn't much of that. I think, look, even if I had a phone. But nowadays you've got that social media element to it. But it can have its pros and cons, obviously. But now when we went through full-time training to what it is now, it is just night and day. And having been part of that as a coach, it is just tremendous to be part of it. You see, and what GB do for each and every athlete is to try and ensure that they can optimize or be at their best when they enter the ring. And that's going from psychology to lifestyle to nutrition, everything. They cover every angle and try and ensure that boxer can do their best, especially when their qualification comes,
It's funny because I remember when sports psychology wasn't even a thing in boxing. It was seen as being like, a friend of mine used to call it woo-woo, right? Yeah. And the only person I can remember at that time, and I remember he was on, I think it was a BBC interview, and he had some sort of affirmations on a poster in the back. Guess who it was?
Who?
Carl Froch.
Really?
Yeah. One of the first people that he was reading all these psychology books. Yeah. I don't know if he knew about them because of GB or whether he just took it upon himself. Yeah. But he started to talk about, the importance of, having mental strength, etc. Do you know what I mean? And I just remember at the time, the lad's really taking the mick. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And look how full circle, it's a massive, massive part of the game, isn't it?
And that's obviously helped him, throughout his, I know he turned professional not long after the World Championships with David here. And then look within his professional career. And I think he did used to have some of them, but he took it upon himself to strengthen that area. And, and it played dividends because in some of those professional fights, he was right in the trenches and he come out like a warrior and come through it, So it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So it worked well for him,
100%. You transition from boxer into a coach. What was that kind of shift like for you? Did you find that quite difficult in the sense of it's hard, isn't it, to leave the game behind?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you how it come about because in my first stint, 99, I think it was, and I was based in Northern Ireland, a place called Londonderry. Is that I got my first bit of coaching. I did my level 1 course, and I was asked because I did a bit of boxing beforehand to run the battalion team. So I had my first element of coaching, and all I did was use that experience of me going through boxing to implement it that way. And then when I got back into boxing, because I had a bit of a big break, 7 years break, because I've done most of my time in Northern Ireland, and I forgot about boxing for about 7 years. I remember being down in Crystal Palace, and we used to do partner pads, and I was on the team with Ricardo Sams. Ricardo Sams was one of the full-time athletes as well, who's now a scientist in the States. And he was a team clubmate of Carl Froch, actually, from Phoenix Gym. And I used to take him on the pads, and he goes, you're a good pad man, you'd be a good coach. And I remember that, and it still sticks in my head now to this day. And so when I didn't qualify for the Olympics, I already had it that I need to look at my army career. I was in the infantry at the time. I needed to transfer into the Army Physical Training Corps, which is no easy feat. And I want to become army coach, army boxing coach. That was one of my objectives. And so I when I finished boxing, I set about I'd already done my level 2. I got on my level 3. I was fast tracked on that. I think that's how we met each other as well, doing them sort of courses, and then the level 4.
No,
Um,
I'm not a level 4. I'm still
no, no,
stuck at level 3.
but I think that's how we met in that sort of remit. And
Yeah.
so I just went through all my coaching levels, and got a bit of England work, and so on and so forth, and just learned. I kind of tried to learn. Obviously, my main ingredient would be my experience, how I went through. So I would try and take some of that. And my philosophy has been sort of realistic, to try and get everything as realistic as possible. And, taking what the national coaches did with me, and obviously what I was learning through these coaching courses, and so I kind of like it. And I get that, like, you can't be, you can be a great boxer, maybe he's not a great coach, but maybe you can be a good boxer and a good coach, type thing. So, you know,
I think the difference also is if you are someone that relishes like learning and has a growth mindset. Because if you don't have that growth mindset, then those coaches that know it all, they're not willing to grow. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah, you got to develop. And I think one of the main assets you need is to be open. Yeah, if you think that you know everything and stuff like that, then you might as well, because you see that. Look, even in Bahrain now, I see it. I've took kids on, when I say kids because they're a bit younger than me, coaches on coaching courses, and they think they know it all. They think they can, and it's sometimes the ego gets in the way. And when we see it all, and it's just having that awareness, isn't it? But I'd say being open, because you can learn something every day, you know. And you might see some coach do something, and you go, "Do you know what? I like that." You sort of take it into your repertoire, don't you? That's what I do anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's true. And also, I think you saying that some of the kids on like from Bahrain have coming up with that same kind of, for lack of a better term, attitude. I think it's a generational thing. I really do, because I see it here where they've done one season and all of a sudden it's like, calm down.
yeah.
um
I, I mean, in Bahrain, I was really flexible initially when I went there, because I only went to do a particular job, and it suddenly changed, and goalposts were moved, and I was pretty flexible because I thought, it's a new culture, different country, different,
yeah.
But now I'm pretty rigid. I'm pretty straight because, you know, we ain't playing table tennis, boxing, and I say you don't play boxing. You're boxing, and people get hurt. So that's why I enforce the rules. And some people don't like that, but that's my job, to protect everyone. And so I'm pretty strict with them.
You're in a position of power, and you're obviously a mentor. You're the head coach, you're the mentor. And I think that sometimes those lines get crossed, and people try to be too pally with their boxers and their
Yeah,
coaches. I think there needs to be a sort of fine line so
yeah,
that you can demand that respect.
yeah. Well, it's like in the army. I never really commanded respect. I probably earned it more than anything, because you do get people that want it. They command it, but sometimes you have got have that bit of rapport. Um, Even here, we've got a delegation of 20 people. I've got two of the coaches. I've got a team manager. I've got three officials, and I've got 13 boxers. So but I don't say, look, they know who leads it because of experience, but I'll empower the others as well, to make them feel important, because that's only how they're going to learn. You know, I don't think I'll be able to hold a set of pads, for all my life. I already feeling some of the aspects. That's why I know I'm getting older. But you've got to empower the new generation, but then you've got to pass on that experience, and show them how to do things.
Can you share any kind of memorable moments, coaching moments, whether that be the army boxing team or working with Olympians?
Well, I think for the army team is each time we got probably getting 4 boxers to the ABA final in 2010. I think that was good. Was most out of I think the most club, the most from any club, and we got boxing news club of the year type thing. And but seeing them being able to represent their countries, whether it be Wales, England, or Scotland, that was memorable for me. And there was quite a number in GB. Like Fraser Clark. I mean, just such a great guy and great friend, and I just hope he has a good speedy recovery. I'm sure he is, and he's we had some just great times, in terms of daunting times as well. I remember being at the WSB final in Uzbekistan, Tashkent, and I think Lawrence Okoli was in the ring, and we're getting beat 8-0. Lawrence Okoli was in the ring this time, and I'm warming Fraser Clark up. And I try to utilize everything that you have in your locker as a coach to try and motivate him. You can tell he's worried and everything like that. And I came out with, I thought I had my ears caught up my sleeve saying, look, you spar with Anthony Joshua, current world champion, blah blah blah. Even that didn't work, so I started lashing him with a towel. And it took his mind off everything, and he kept him moving, and he was great. He went in there and stopped the Cuban in the second round. So them type of moments are really special. Just seeing Joshua Buatsi win his bronze medal. Joshua Buatsi, I known right from when he was boxing North London and winning his or South London, should I say, and winning his ABA title. And he asked me, Tony, you were from the army. Why did you help me? I'll help anyone, And all it was try to give him a bit of, I think, some accommodation or whatever it was. But still to this day, keep in touch with him. Lawrence he was just over last week, the week before, to Bahrain training. He spent 4 months the year before. So always keep in touch with him. Even the big guy, Big AJ. Just some really fascinating moments, and seeing the likes of Pat McCormack pick up his silver medal in Tokyo. There's so many come through. I think one day when I get a bit of time, I'm going to have to put them in some sort of sequence or some order.
There's a book there, isn't there? There's a book in you somewhere.
Yeah. Even the likes of Ben Whitaker, we've been on Sierra Nevada on top of the mountain. We've got some great stories, where coaches are running around after each other because they can't deal with the altitude and stuff like that. And it's, some great times,
When you're reiterating all those names, you're bringing all those names out and all those occasions. It just sounds amazing, to be honest. A privilege, I'm guessing.
It is. It's an honour to be around such, high caliber athletes, and especially for me, full circle. It was to work with the likes of, Lee Pullen and Dave Alloway, and and learn a lot from Rob McCracken as well, and everyone, and even all the support staff. It was just it was an honour, and it's just great to see. When you see them doing well, it's just brilliant, and.
Were you not a coach at the Royal Military Academy at Sandhurst?
Yeah, so I just joined the PT corps, and that was my first posting as a instructor. And they said, "Oh, you're a boxing coach. You can look after the boxing here." So, but just like anything, you'll always try and do your best. So, I think boxing used to be the most popular sport there. I used to have 120 people, so I used to bust them down to Aldershot to try and train that many people. It was a bit difficult, but you managed to get it done, and so a lot of them kids become boxing officers and all that, and help generate the new batch of boxing soldiers, so we say. And obviously, that's where I met His Highness. He was the King's youngest son of Bahrain.
And so you kind of you built that relationship. It's kind of bubbling and simmering underneath. I will come back to that. I wanted to just touch base. So on March 22nd, 2017 has a profound effect on you. You're at the Houses of Parliament. There's a Westminster attack occurs. Can you kind of walk us through the experience of that day?
Yeah, I remember going on the bus because in WSB we used to do what's called a PR event. We'd do the weigh-in, the official weigh-in. We did that morning at the hotel, and then we'd do a PR event. So the PR event was a visit to the House of Parliament, which we were supposed to do it in the army, but we were always let down. So I was kind of looking forward to it. And I just remember being a damp, drizzly day, and we were going round on the bus and over the water and back. Anyway, we got dropped off, and then we went through the airport security, and we ended up going through to a place on the River Thames, which is like the white, had these like sort of white tents, and that's where this PR event was taking place, and it was being hosted by one of the MPs at the time, who's turned out to be a good friend, and she was, she's into boxing and everything like that. And what it was is we had some grassroots boxers there, and then we had obviously some of our boxers, Muhammad Ali at the time, Fraser Clark, so Olympians, and so we were due to box Italia Thunder, who were also there at the time, in York Hall the following day. Anyway, so we were there for about an hour, and it was a right good event. And I remember myself and Lee pulling just before we left. Obviously, I've got a sweet tooth, so has he, and there was some cakes, some. So I said, "Oh, let's get one of these, Lee." And so we started eating that, and someone came over and spoke to us. So that kind of delayed our departure, like leaving the vicinity inside House of Parliament. So anyway, we started to move forward, and I only reflected on this, countless times afterwards. But that, if we didn't have them cakes, it could have been totally different. So as we were leaving, I remember getting my phone out to try and take a bit of footage. Great trip to the House of Parliament. I was told off because you couldn't have it in this part. So we come out the Grand Hall. Anyone that's been there would know what this is called. But the Grand Hall, we just came out there, and then I started getting my phone out. Great, just a bit of media footage just to show everyone that we've been in the House of Parliament. And as we came out, we heard all this commotion. And we were still actually in Parliament, right in the courtyard type thing. We're trying to make our way out through the airport security, but didn't get that far. And we were sort of closed in by this fence. And the carnage, what was happening outside, I mean, it just sounded like there was a big fight. But the sound sort of travelled. So I followed the sound type thing, and I was looking, and you look through these gates, which led you outside, but you could see through the gates, and there's people running. So I'm thinking, this is some Greenpeace activist march or something like that. Little did I know later on as they were running for their lives. Anyway, then all of a sudden, just everything changed. I'd been videoing, and then somehow, when the mood just totally changed, when the guy running and I just seen these blades like a reflection somehow, and just big, large knives, and he was just attacking the policeman. By that time, I'd obviously subconsciously put the phone in my pocket, but it was still recording. And the police were running away, so I thought they just needed help. So that's how I've just decided to jump the fence and run towards the situation. And then as I landed, it seemed like it was very quick, but it seemed to last a lifetime. And I just remember landing on the other side. And, being a PTI, quite easy for me to vault the fence, yeah. And, or an ex-PTI then. But as I landed on my feet, I remember when the police were going, "Run, run, they've got knives." And it was the word "they." So I thought, oh, shit, we're being attacked in numbers. But fortunately, we weren't. But the attack is still advancing. And I just see this policeman holding his head, and he goes down and he stumbles. But this attack is still coming towards us. But luckily, I don't know what would have happened if this guy wasn't here, but he was one of the bodyguards to Secretary of State. He came out and he just pulled his pistol out and put, double whammy in front of him. It's like 3 shots, a double tap and then a single tap or vice versa. So I knew he was out of the equation. So I knew he'd be like, kind of just no threat. So I quickly turned my attention to this policeman who was called PC Keith Palmer. And I was the first one to him. And the wounds he had, I won't go into too much detail, but I've seen some things in the army, but this, I can see what actually knives do to people, and it's horrendous. And the policeman's wearing a stab vest. I just remember him having a head wound, which looked pretty gruesome, but wasn't an arm wound here, which applied direct pressure trying to stop the bleeding. But the most fatal one was inside where his stab vest was, and his latimus dorsi was just torn wide open with the blades. And I had my GB rain jacket with me still somehow, even after vaulting the fence, but I tried to use that to stem the blood. And long one short, it was just pure carnage. And when the helicopter emergency medical services team, they're called the HEMS, they came and, as I said, I went through this in my whole army career, but we moved him. I held his head while they opened his chest cavity. They took his heart out of his body to try and restart it. That's like, that's the length he went to try and save him. That's, and it's obviously must be quite normal for them to see that, to do that, because they do it probably week in, week out. But wow, and thereafter, it was just horrendous. I remember getting took to this cafe area by the media people in Parliament, and it was closed off. Only us were there. Some police were there to look after us, and it was just like horrendous, and it's just pure shame that obviously PC Palmer didn't pull through, and still kind of haunts me to this day, really, that he didn't make it.
As you were talking, there were pictures that I saw on the media just flicking through my head, and bearing in mind, I didn't have to witness what you witnessed. You jump into action because of your army training. However, how did you cope with the emotional toll of witnessing such a traumatic event?
Yeah, the funny thing is when I got took up to we were only there probably an hour, I think, an hour and a half, but it just seemed like eternity. And when we got took up, I had to wash the blood off my hands and trying to get cleaned up, and then I just had to keep walking because the adrenaline going through my body, and I must have drank about 36 cups of tea that afternoon, because we were there from about 4 o'clock right till 11 o'clock tonight, because we had to wait for the anti-terrorist police. But the biggest thing is I just wanted to call my wife and speak to my kids. And I just broke down crying when I heard her voice, and she didn't know what happened, and there was lots of things going on. I couldn't understand why my phone was dead, because it was fully charged when it came out. That's when I realised that when I'd been videoing, it recorded everything, even once we dealt with, as in the audio. I just remember seeing on Sky News, the TV with Sky News was on, and they had the Sky chopper, whatever, Sky News chopper out, and all you could see was all these landmarks, the wheel and House of Parliament, and it was like being on a film. I remember watching this film called, I can't remember what it's called now, something to do with London Has Fallen. And felt like I was being part of that. It was just unbelievable, what was going through my head. When I got onto the bus, eventually later that night, because I got separated from the team, and they were all in lockdown somewhere. And Fraser Clark, I think he did a podcast once, and he told about what had happened, and he says, I just got on that bus, and I'm grey anyway, but he says I was grey, I was just white, my whole face, and he probably wasn't wrong there. And you don't know what you do though, would you, until that situation presents yourself. I did have someone asked me a pretty stupid question to say like, why do you do that? Well, you don't know what you do until that situation presents itself. You get people say, "Oh yeah, I would have done the same," but to be honest, you don't know
You
what you'll
don't
do
know.
until that it's a fight or flight decision, and but yeah, it's just look, it's not about me. I witnessed that, but I wasn't hurt or anything like that. But I just worry about all the people that were hurt, are involved in it. The people that lost people and who were injured. I mean, those policemen. The one that said run. They've got knives. I've seen him at some events, but I mean, these people, these police officers, a lot of them have had to quit their jobs because they've got complex PTSD. And I'm friendly with quite a number of them, and even the guy that was last hit on the bridge, Travis Friend, great guy who's got an OBE for what he's done now in terms of trying to prevent terrorism, and you know, just such a great guy. And I go to some of the reunions. I'll fly back across, and because I think it's kind of important, and but these things happen. You never know what's around the corner, do you? And that was that was the first one of that year, of a horrendous year.
Yeah, I mean, you've just mentioned the police officers that have to basically retire from the force.
Yeah.
How did it, or how did it impact your life, that experience? Has it had a lasting effect? And I wonder if you suffered from, what do they call that? Survivor's guilt.
Survivor's guilt. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I have dark moments and that, but then I try to counter them by, it's not about me, it's about those that people were severely affected with it, and but sometimes you can't help what's up here sometimes, and yeah, that's why I probably attend these things, because it's probably a bit of a coping strategy as well. Um, in one sense, it's just what you're seeing, just just because you're a professional soldier doesn't stop you from, yeah, like sort of having an impact on you. I mean, I used to come from that remit of, stop being weak. That was the sort of frame back then. Stop being this case, stop being that case. But at the end of the day, we're all human, aren't we? And obviously, some things do affect people. But I try not to let it. At the end of the day, the deepest thing for me was, or the biggest disappointment was trying not to. Not getting Keith through it.
Yeah. I'm guessing also that shared trauma with all the guys
Yeah.
that you're kind of still friends with.
Yeah.
Weirdly, there must be some sort of comfort in that, because nobody can really understand. You can describe it, and I'm sure it weighs heavy, but nobody can understand unless they were there. I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's the point, is that you try and talk to some people, even those that are close to you, they don't understand, and the only people that do are those that were there that day, and we all know who did what, because it never leaves you, and having went through all the inquest and stuff like that, and everything that was affected to it, it's just some of that you'll never ever forget, unfortunately.
And then you kind of get thrust into like the media, don't you, into the spotlight. So I'm guessing you're seen as a hero. How do you handle that whilst also going through probably the silent trauma? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, it's not like hero. I mean, I do appreciate all the kind words that people said at the time. It's nice, and comforting in some way. Um, it's just, it's a difficult one, because I think I was thrust into the media spotlight a little bit, and then a year later they asked for me, but I turned it down because I didn't want to be, plus I was working in Sheffield at the time. So yeah, it's just I think you just go through and you just take it, how it comes basically. There's no sort of role playing or anything like that. It's just whatever is seen as just comes straight from the heart, and that's it. Just unfortunate that those people passed away and there's nothing that can be done. And then you think about the families and stuff like that.
Through this incredibly, just incredibly distressing, life-changing moment in many ways, because dare I say there was a positive that came out of it, wasn't there? You received an offer to be a coach in Bahrain. Is that the first time that you were offered that?
Well, what it was is because obviously the media spotlight, His Highness Sheikh Khaled got wind of it. Obviously remembers me 10 years earlier with him in Sandhurst, and basically asked me to go out there. I flew with him and his plane, and he offered me a role to train him. And it took me sort of 9 months to. I was in my dream job. I absolutely loved GB. Still now I miss it. And anyone that worked alongside me there will tell you that how much because it was just what I wanted. It's just full circle. I've been a boxer in this sort of program. I'm now a coach, and I was doing really well. I thought Rob was kind of putting his trust in me, and kind of moving forward, managing the WSB teams and stuff like that, and leading quite a number of things. So so it was it was a bitter pill to leave. That's what I thought, but it was always what if. So anyway, when the decision come, I left basically GB on November the 30th, 2018, and flew to Bahrain on the 1st of December. Didn't really know what hit me and stuff like that when I got there, but it'll be 6 years on the 1st of December. So, and sort of, I only went to train him initially, and then he asked if I could set up boxing. So, kind of reflecting back on that date, which was a sad date to leave, to where we are now, you could say that you've made a difference.
Yeah.
And that kind of what drives me on, and when you say something positive came out of that, it probably did.
And how easy or difficult was it to build that whole structure? Because you go in from the ground up and I'm guessing nothing's in place. There's no structure. You don't have a team. How did you go about building this Bahrain boxing program?
So when the decision was made to say about implementing boxing, I just had a big think about it. Kind of brainstormed it, and then I was invited to something what they thought was boxing, or like it was multi-sport thing, like some Muay Thai stuff, and they said, "Oh, this is boxing now," in the same ring. Really? And there was guys, dressed as normal clothes in the ring. There was no judges. The times were made up, just randomly. It was just it was a bit like Mickey Mouse in one sense, and so I thought I set about the first thing I thought they needed was education. So I ran a coaching course. Was the first thing I ever did. We did some like assessments, or they call it tryouts, just to see, but they coach about these kids and stuff. But it was a coaching course what I did, and then there were some gyms. With that coaching course, he went away, started training the boxers, and then we put an event on. That event took like sort of 6-7 months. 29th of June 2019. It was the first event that we put on, Battle of Bahrain. And I did it the biggest I could, because I thought these young kids will come through and they'll have such an experience that maybe they'll want to stay with boxing. Because, for me to think that Arabs boxing, really? But now when I look back to what we've got now to then, there's, night and day. Hence why we're over here now. But yeah, it was just building and just being active and trying to give people, you know, because you can train in a gym, can you? But
Mm.
if you've got nothing to train for, if you've got no competitions, so that's what it is. So I put all the events on as well, and try and build it from. I mean, listen, it's not been easy one little bit. I went there thinking, or when I was there thinking that, everything would be in abundance. Well, quite clearly it wasn't. I mean, we built a ring, not me personally, but I took all the specifications down to build a ring from scratch. We still use that ring now, but we've got another two rings because we just had a big event on a couple of weeks back, and the first international for International Schools Federation Gymnasiad. But I think we just grew, and it's just took hard work, and my utilizing my experience and try to bring in the right people to help. Some people have, stayed with us. Some people have fell by the wayside, because they want have other ideas. You got to have a direction, and that you got to try and have everyone on board. We managed to get to the Tokyo Olympics, qualifying for that. We weren't so successful during this cycle, but we're still trying to make a difference and keeping boxing. And boxing's probably been is at its pinnacle at this moment in time in Bahrain, which but it's took a lot of work.
It's absolutely, honestly, it's phenomenal that you've been able to go in and implement, and in such a short space of time, make
Yeah.
a change. You've also made a change in regard to gender. So, what strategies did you kind of use to implement bringing in females into the game?
But it's just to try and make it all inclusive. I mean, even our neighbour, Saudi Arabia, when I first got to Bahrain, men and women couldn't train in the same gym. Yeah. And I remember them reaching out to me to ask if I could find someone for them. And I've got a good friend of mine who's over there now as the technical director, Kevin Smith, who's from Liverpool, came directly from Australia.
Yeah.
Uh, and boxing's just bubbling, especially in Saudi because of the amount of people they have. But in Bahrain, it's just about making it all inclusive for everyone, you know, and just having the similar. There's no because sometimes in that culture, it's like men first, where in British, ladies first. But I treat everyone the same. Our Mariam Kamis, who's she got beat last time, but she's since then she's won World Combat Games, being held in Saudi, and you know hopefully she's pretty strong, mentally strong. So yeah, just trying to make a difference with the women, and she's the face of female boxing in Bahrain as
Wow.
well, you know. And not only that, we're open hub. We've just had a girl from Kuwait come over and train with us, and she's just won the Saudi Games, gold medalist. After 3 bouts over there, and that's just. So we'll let anyone come and join us because I see it. It's good for our boxers, good for them, and hopefully they get a little bit better. You know.
I was in Saudi earlier this year, and I met a group of kids from the Mike Tyson boxing gym.
Yeah.
And do you know what it reminded me of? Back in the day, because I don't think really many clubs do it as much these days, right? In the amateurs, where you all had your tracksuits or your kit or your t-shirt or something, and everybody went to support. Not just a home show. If somebody was boxing somewhere else,
Yeah.
mums and dads would like bundle the kids in the car and they'd go. It doesn't really happen so much now. Not in all clubs anyway.
Yeah.
So it was really nice to see these kids. They were genuinely like so excited. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And they got to meet loads of idols.
Yeah.
They're very well behaved, to be fair. But just nice kids. Do you know what I mean? Nice kids. And they've got who else have they got there? Joe Gallagher
Yeah.
is one of the trainers. I
Brian
think he's a
Rose.
head trainer or something.
Yeah. Brian Rose as well.
Ryan Rose. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like, but
Happy Rimmer.
they are really they're really hungry to learn
Yeah.
and to share they were asking me questions, and they're really hungry to learn. So yeah, it must be phenomenal as a coach to be out there with all those,
Yeah.
those young kids.
It's funny enough because we're going to the Mike Tyson gym on Saturday.
Oh
So
yeah,
we're going to do a week sparring there. They came over for the ISF last couple of weeks ago, and they've been asking us. They're desperate to get some sparring in, so we're going to go over there because I think it's great for all. You know,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, different part of the world, but if you think back, and I do anyway, because I think when I went there, I contacted UAE because they've been probably one of the longest ones going alongside Kuwait. But Bahrain's just moved up, and we've got the best boxers at the moment, but I think we'll be overtook by Saudi eventually. But Saudi, the numbers, their championships, it's just amazing to watch. Seeing from nothing to what it is now. And what I did was selfishly, uh, 3 years ago, I designed a tournament called Triple G. Resonates with a famous boxer, but it stands for Gulf Golden Gloves. So it was mainly for our boxers, but I thought it would benefit the whole region. So not only will it benefit the boxers, but it will benefit the coaches because the coaches got a lot to learn as well,
Yeah.
and over in the region, and also the officials. And if you're having regular boxing, throughout the year, as a Gulf, we show the rest of the world, what's going on, and and it'll cover all age categories as well. And there's some elements of WSB are put in there that you have a leaderboard. So then there's a bit of tactics about how you're doing things. Okay, you're going to box this country. So we're hoping to launch that next year, Bahrain and Saudi, and then hopefully the other nations will join quite quickly afterwards.
It's interesting because there are several countries that you hear of. I won't name. I won't name them, but you kind of hear that they want to develop, and the talk is cheap because as soon as they realise, how much work goes into it, or the
Yeah,
fact that their government have to pay money to in order to either bring someone over, or bring the team over, the coaches
yeah,
over, the officials over, how much work it takes and constant work. I think
yeah,
just people they just don't have it in them, and I
yeah,
don't think they're serious.
yeah,
So it's great to hear that everybody, because I'm telling you, in the next couple of years, we're going to see a massive change in the Gulf. So yeah, I think it's brilliant. You were involved, obviously, with the team going to the Olympics, weren't you?
So yeah, so in terms of Bahrain team,
Yeah,
yeah. So we went to Tokyo, um, but we didn't qualify this time for Paris.
but didn't you have all that whole? Obviously, everyone had it, but the kind of drama with trying to qualify and
Yeah,
COVID and all of that. You got COVID, didn't you?
yeah. As I said, I probably haven't been too lucky in life.
It,
Going back to the bacterial meningitis, but
the fact that you just laughed then, I was like, that wasn't a laughing matter.
no, it wasn't. It was probably the most scariest thing I've been in because yeah, yeah, I was I'm not scared to admit it. I was yeah, I thought I was dying, and I cried, because I thought I wouldn't see my kids again, and I was stuck in Istanbul. It was the first time of getting out. It was in March 2021, and we just got notification that we qualified for uh, Tokyo. It was a good time, but I just remember like when I don't know if it was because I did all the work or whatever. Started to get a little bit of a dizzy spell. It was only just momentarily, for a split second. It was like when you used to spar and you used to get buzzed. It was like that, but come and go. But I think it was called vertigo. I put it down to the lifts or the workload, but it was actually one of the symptoms. Anyway, just before we went, because after the boxing had finished, we had some South American teams there, so we got some sparring in, and then I just got a message to say that obviously the results of our pre-departure test, and saying that me and another boxer tested positive. Go to your rooms immediately. Wait for a retest. So we got retested, and then obviously it was affirmative that I had it. I thought I need to be in Belfast. I've got a training camp. We got this, we got that. So it was like 10 days I had to spend in my room. So I thought, control the controllables, as Terry Edwards always used to say to us, this England coach. And I thought, I'll just do a lot of work from my laptop in the room. I'll do some circuits and I'll just get on the room service. It's not going to be that bad. And then 2 days later, I'm in the bath and I'm not. Well, it was my friend I was on the phone to saying, Tony, you sound rough. And so I went and got my blood oxygen took somehow, one of the monitors, and it was like, I think it's got to be, well, it has to be 95, normally, but it was something like 82, so it was quite low, and I ended up getting the paramedics checked out. Next thing, I'm on my way to the hospital. Yeah, it's just, and I remember an Indian team being there, team of girls who'd had COVID as well, and they were on that isolation floor. So I just remember getting transported to a hospital. I think I got put through this machine at one point. I don't know if it was getting a CT scan or what. I can't remember. But I remember being in this hospital for 10, 11 days. Nobody spoke English. Everyone was hazmated up. And I'm feeling like awful. I mean, it's unbelievable how that made you feel. I can't really describe it. I mean, sometimes I'd be like, right, Tony, be positive. Get in the shower. So I'd like sort of shuffle to the shower. By the time I got to the shower room, I just felt ill. I just couldn't bear it, step in the shower. And the only thing that would give you a piece of comfort is if you got in the bed and adopted the fetal position, but only momentarily. And then, I was starting to look like a smackhead. They had to put stuff through my feet as well because just all my veins were all tired. I just remember this doctor coming in. He spoke minute English, and what he said seemed positive, but it didn't match his eyes for me. And I just thinking, and I wasn't getting any better. In fact, I was getting worse. I didn't know what was getting put into my body. I was getting all sorts, and I was saying, I'm not reacting to this treatment, not reacting to that. And I was seeing people to the left and right of me, and they were like getting put in body bags. Yeah. So like that ain't great for the mind either. And I just remember, I think I had a fit as well, and I just remember trying to speak to my wife at the time and say, "Look, I could try to keep this a bit switched on, although my body was just falling apart." And they said, "I said, look, I need to get out here because I'm not getting any better. I need to leave or whatever." Obviously, His Highness got involved, and then they basically transported me to another hospital. And next thing woke up, I was under sedation and all that, and I was all, monitored up or whatever. And I couldn't really remember. So instead of being there for 6 days, I was there for 6 weeks, 15 kilos later, and but because it was really rife in Istanbul, and they said to me when I become better, uh, when I say better, I mean I was out of danger. They said that they needed the hospital bed, and they had to put me in a hotel just outside the hospital, and I would have to come in daily. But I couldn't even walk. I'd shuffle. What it did to your body was just unbelievable. Um, and I remember once when I'd come through, I had my first shower after 5.5 weeks or whatever it was, and they so I got a shower and it felt good. But when I looked in the mirror, it was like looking at someone from Belsen. Uh, and as I come out, the guy in this hospital, they had interpreters, and they said, anyway, so I'm got out of the shower and that, I got changed, I had these pajamas on, and then there was a wheelchair waiting for me. They said, "Oh, you need to come, you still test positive." So they took me down to the emergency again, and then all of a sudden, all my arms just start bubbling. My heart rate was 200 plus. I never did that since I ran a mile and a half at best effort. And my body was stressing. They said that you just need to calm down, but they tried to give me something, but my body was stressing because I think I was going through that whole. I had to go through that whole scenario again. Yeah, that number of weeks going because it was just awful, awful, and it took me about a good year to recover from it.
I was going to say, it sounded like you were kind of on the road to recovery as soon as they moved you from the first hospital. Because like you said, like trying, not only having to deal with your own sickness, seeing death around you. I mean, I
Yeah,
cannot even, I can't even begin to understand what that's like.
yeah,
And then the fear, I think the only time that I felt fear then, it's nowhere near what you went through, was
yeah,
when I think after COVID and after lockdown, it was a kind of a fear of, I don't know, what happens next? Is the world going to change? And,
yeah.
so I can't imagine what it was like for you to like think, oh, fuck, I've got to go through that again. Was it a case of also you feeling that you couldn't get through that, or you didn't think you would get through it a second time?
Yeah, I think when my body was stressed enough, I can't go through that because like I thought I was gone anyway, but I just, yeah, the only thing that I think kept me going was just not. I want to see my daughters again. That's the only thing that really kept me going. I thought I can't. I mean, just the feeling inside your body was just I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but it was just horrible, horrendous. And every time I got, because I took the jabs afterwards as well, um, in order to travel.
Mm.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have touched them with a barge pole. But they give me that same feeling where I had, and I was sick for like nearly 3 days after each injection. Yeah, yeah, it was horrendous, horrendous. But obviously managed to get through it.
I like your remarkable positive attitude, because most people literally would just throw in the towel, I think, at this point,
No, I did. Well, I did feel like at one time, to be honest with you, I just thought I can't do this. Please let me just sleep. Let me just go. I'll just go. But it was just the thought of never seeing my daughters again. That's what kept me going. Yeah, that was it. I mean, okay, well, yeah, kind of mature bloke, but when you're feeling alone there and there's nobody can speak, you can hardly communicate with anyone. It's like
It's interesting. This conversation has been littered with, and this is not a criticism, by the way, it's just littered with the fact that men feel that they have to be like super strong all the time. They can't cry, they can't let out emotions. And that must be tiring, Tony. Do you know what I'm saying? That must be tiring.
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean,
You're only human at the end of the day. And look, when I was in that hospital bed,
yeah,
uh,
100%.
I did cry because I thought I'd never see me kids again, and
Yeah.
that's like, yeah, it's the worst feeling in the world. But I mean, that what that illness did to you was just I've never really experienced anything like it. I mean,
But you've pushed forward. You've come out the other side. You're doing amazing things. Didn't you have a kid, qualify for the Olympics, who only started boxing in 2019 or something?
no, he was so he was a guy that we brought in to, and he changed nationality. He qualified. Um, just unfortunately got beaten his first bout. He could have qualified for Paris as well, but I think when we were trying to prepare for Tokyo, because he was southpaw, I got him involved with Anthony Joshua, and I think it was probably not a good thing for him because he thought he'd arrived, and he lost that hunger. And he said to me, he didn't want to train 3 times a day. He said, I said, listen, son, you're not Olympian until you get in that field of play, until you get in that ring. So, yeah, but I think he kicks himself now because, yeah, and I've had many boxers like that, so some boxers, even through the army, just like, because you see some good kids, and you just think that they're talented, but they just don't want to put that extra bit of hard work in. They just want to get through talent alone. You can't just get through on talent alone. You've got to be able to get in the trenches. You've got to work hard. You've got to, put the whole package together.
Yeah.
But
You see many of them and you think you'll learn or not. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah,
it's really sad. as a trainer to see that all that wasted talent. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's tough, and you try and do your best to try and mold them the best way you can to try and get them out of that, and try and grasp everything, because maybe you never got an opportunity like this again.
And going through everything that you've been through, I'm sure central to it is mental toughness and resilience. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, knocked down, you keep getting back up. How do you implement that in your coaching style?
I think using the experience, and given some real life experiences that some things have happened in the boxing ring or in training, but nothing lasts forever. So if you're going through a bit of a bad spell, there's always light at the end of the tunnel, and things will get better. So, but this is just normal. You're going to go through as I say to everyone, boxing's an emotional roller coaster. So, you just got to tap away at the boxers, and try and, plant those little seeds that, even though it might be bad at the minute, it's not going to last forever, and everything's going to come better. But also telling them to reflect as well. Look at where you were, last year. Look where you were 2 years ago. Look where you were now. Look where you are now. I think that, and that kind of puts them in the right sort of picture, or back on track, should we say?
And talking of reflection, I remember you saying that you saw your old coach recently. He's in the corner still, 70 odd years of age.
Yeah.
Do you take time to reflect on where you've come from, what you've been through, and who you are today?
I do reflect, but I guess it's not like kind of about me. Probably what I do, yes, and that's what I reflect on more so, because then it kind of gives you a reason that, yeah, you're trying to make a difference, and you are a little bit, whatever. So that's kind of my sort of motivation to keep pushing and trying, and I guess in one sense is that I won't be able to do what I'm doing forever. So let's just try then get the local people in Bahrain. We've got some good coaches here, and to them take up the mantle, and the work from it, and then you've sort of left a bit of a legacy. That's what I do. And try and make these boxers feel something. I mean, the female boxer we've got, Mariam. We've got her promoted from the Bahrain Defence Force into the Royal Guard, which is a special force, and that's not normal.
Wow.
So because of our exploits, we managed to do that. There's another kid that when I went to Bahrain in the February, they do a national sports day each February. So 2019, saw this kid, and he come on the pads. I think he was 133 kilos. He's now our 80 kilo kid. Not only have we done that, we've got him a job in Bapco, which is the oil producing company in Bahrain. So we've managed to get him full time employment through his exploits in boxing. So, like you say, you're trying to make a difference, and you're trying to transform people's lives through boxing. Some kids as well that you try and get them to understand this, but maybe the mentality won't allow them to comprehend it or understand it. So some kids are missing out, but but on the good side, we're making a difference with the kids here, and they can see this now, and they feel more happier that we are coaching them, and they can see that we're making a difference.
It sounds like family plays like a massive part in getting you through, certain periods in your life, and then full circle, you're kind of building a family in Bahrain. Do you think you'll stay there forever now, or do you feel like you're there for a purpose, on a mission, and then wherever else your life takes you, you'll go?
Yeah, I think I will stay there now. Because got a bit of loyalty to my boss. And obviously he helped me out as well, and my moment in need. I have been offered other jobs in other countries, big countries who've got everything I want, but out of that loyalty, I'll probably stay where I am for the current time, unless anything else was to dramatically change. Look, it's not easy what I do in Bahrain, but nothing ever is it? Worth having.
Yeah, exactly. Tony, honestly, I'm blown away by. I'm grateful. Thank you for sharing your story with me. I hope you guys do well tomorrow night. Just let me know what are your socials in case people want to know. And just lastly, any advice that you would give to any up and coming amateur who just aspires to get started in the game?
Yeah, I'd just say get into your local gyms. Yeah, try and understand the sport, learn the basics. Yeah, become a bit of a family, get to know one another in that gym, and do the best you possibly can. And when you start moving up and developing, you're going to be great, and you're going to enjoy that buzz, because what that adrenaline rush, yeah, nothing can give you that, yeah, other than boxing, and it's such a great feeling. And remember, when that hand gets lifted by the referee, there's no better feeling on earth. So stick in, kids.
I can't really say anything else after that. That was a beautiful moment. Listen, yeah, thanks ever so much for giving us your time. I've really enjoyed today. Thanks.
No, thank you very much, Jackie, and all the very best, and take care.